It's First Lady Redonda here, and I am cooking in the kitchen. And I want to do for you today one of my favorites, and actually it's my husband's favorite. It is pecan pie. Some people say pecan, but we say pecan pie. So it's a pretty simple recipe. So I just want to let you know the ingredients that we have. It's going to be 3 tablespoons of melted butter. There's a cup of sugar. We're going to just use white, regular granulated sugar. And we have a cup of the light corn syrup. We have about almost 2 cups of these sliced pecans, the baking pecans that don't have any salt or sugar on them. We're going to have 3 eggs, a pinch of salt, and a teaspoon of vanilla. So let's go ahead and get started with our recipe. I've already preheated the oven to 350. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, and I'm just going to beat the eggs. One of the things about baking is that it requires a little bit more precision, and you really have to measure so that you kind of will have a pretty good finished product. So you can't kind of play around with the measurements when you're baking. So we're going to try to follow the measurements to the letter. And so this is 3 eggs that I'm just going to whisk up here. And I'm going to be referring to my recipe just to make sure that I do not miss anything. And so I'm going to cream in I start with the eggs, and then I'm going to add the sugar, and then the butter, and I'm really just gonna cream it all in. The melted butter, which is really gonna make it rich. So I'm just really just creaming in these ingredients, as you can see. And you don't really, I don't think, have to use a mixer. You can just use your arms and work out those arms for this recipe, and it will be just fine. So I'm mixing that in. I'm going to add in this light Karo syrup here. As you can see, this is a pretty thick mixture because this light Karo syrup, and I think some recipes may call for the dark Karo syrup, but I use the light Karo. So it's a pretty smooth consistency, as you can see. I'm going to add in a pinch of salt here. Just when you're baking, you always add a pinch of salt. And it really kind of balances out the sweet. All right. So then now I'm going to add the teaspoon of vanilla extract here, and calls for 1 teaspoon. And I love the smell of vanilla. It is wonderful. All right. Move all that over to the side there. Okay, I'm just gonna stir all that in. Now, I like a little bit more pecans. Some recipes will call for like 1.5 cups of the sliced pecans or the pecan halves. I don't like the crushed pecans because we like the whole taste of pecans. So if you like the crushed or chopped pecans, then that's your preference. Go ahead and go with that. But we like the pecan halves because it looks really pretty at the end when you're doing your presentation and your pie. So as you can see, we've got it all mixed well. So now I'm just gonna add the pecans. And you just make sure that it's all incorporated well and that your pecans are well mixed in with this pie filling. And let's see, there you have it, right? So here is the pie crust that I have, and I'm just going to pour this ingredients into this 9-inch deep dish pie crust. So let's make sure that all right, I think we are ready. My oven is at 350, so it's preheated. So let's go ahead and let's get this filling into this pie crust. And it only calls for 1 cup of sugar. So it's, with the corn syrup, trust me, it's gonna be mighty sweet and good. Okay, so now the main thing that I do at this point is I just make sure that the pecans are sitting up on the pie. And I use a foil lined cookie sheet just in case it bubbles over a little bit, then you won't have a whole lot of mess to clean up. So there you have it. This is our pecan pie. And I'll show you a tip really quick. When you put it in the oven, if it starts to brown too much around the edges, you can just make a little tent there and just cover it to keep it from browning too much on the edges. We're just gonna go ahead and put it in the oven, and it's gonna bake for an hour. So we'll come back in an hour and we will check on our beautiful pecan pie. We are cooking in the kitchen, so I'm glad that you're with me. We'll be right back after it's done and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we are back and our pecan pie is ready to come out of the oven. It has been in the oven for about a little over an hour. I kind of had to turn the oven down a little bit. It was cooking a little bit fast. As you can see, I am in the kitchen, but not my kitchen. So I'm just kind of getting used to this oven while I am traveling for the holidays. So let's pull out our pecan pie. And you can also see that I actually had to put my little tent over the crust portion just so that it doesn't get too brown around those edges. But it's very pretty, as you can see, and I can touch it. It's hot, but I can touch it and see how well these pecans have really caramelized on top, but it's still very, very hot. So at this point, I'm gonna have to let it sit, and it's gonna have to set and cool and all of that. And so I'll come back later and just, if I put it over here, you can see it a little bit better. It's a little bit hot, but just so you can see how beautiful the caramelized pecans are. And the crust is nicely brown too. So I'm just gonna let it sit. It's gonna cool and set, and probably tomorrow I'll be ready to slice into it. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe for pecan pie. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And most of all, be blessed.